there are so many things that you cannot control
Mm-hmm.
that go on in life, and you have to be able to continue if you still have life. My theme for this year is Love Edleen. The people I need to drop, let them go. Things I need to do in order to grow, do them.
Welcome to the Rise and Radiate podcast, where we bring to you great sons and daughters of Sierra Leone and the whole of Africa to discuss issues that have to do with identification or identity, that have to do with us becoming the best versions of ourselves, us trying to find meaning, healing, but also at the same time trying to get deeply rooted into our femininity or our masculinity while serving the world the best we can. Today, the sun rose on the studio and radiated it because we have the very beautiful and radiant Edleen Elba with us. Thank you so much for joining us, Edleen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome, welcome. So we are so happy because, it took a long time to get you because everybody wants Edleen. I'm really happy and proud to have you, Edleen, not only because of the great work that you're doing in the ecosystem, because it's not that I think, but I'm very, very sure, and I even experience it, that you made it now very easy for people to tap into talent, to source talent, but at the same time, even to help their talent to grow and maybe understand even their human capital better, but also even beyond that at national level, helping the educational system be able to produce something that matches what private sector is looking for and all of that. Those are really great great actions, great interventions that you are doing. But that's not the only reason why you are here today. You are here today because today on this episode of Grief and Grace, rising with pain in the heart, or with a heavy heart, um, we invited you because we see the grace that you are bringing on the public space with the grief that you have with the loss of your dad and how you're navigating it. And I think it's so courageous, it's so brave, because not only you are giving yourself the space for you to channel that grief, but also you allowing other people to grieve with you. But you're also teaching people healthy ways of grieving, without even knowing it, right? But then while we were working on this, and I saw your last post on your dad, it was just like, oh my God, like we need Edleen on the podcast because we don't know how to grieve. Right? We know how the process of grieving starts from denial, and then sometimes you don't even have anybody to talk about it with because everybody's grieving, but we don't know how to do it. But then I think you came to it, and it's not the first time. I've been seeing all of those anniversaries. He is turning X number of years, and I also lost my dad 17 years ago. And, it has just been a roller coaster of things coming back, and me trying to channel it as much as I can. But I thought it was brave because for the longest time, I've not been able to talk about my dad in public without bursting out into tears. And I think that's not really the best way of honoring them, of living life with the legacy of all what they have done. So this is all of the very many reasons why we have you here today, Edleen. And we would like you to unpack it for us, but starting first of all with Edleen herself. What is it that we don't know about Edleen apart from the great HR work that we were doing?
Okay, there's quite a lot of it we don't know, obviously. But I'll just touch on a few things. So I feel like some of the things that have made me who I am basically are how I grew up. Um, at a very early age, probably about 3 or 4, like my parents used to work at the NDMC, which was a diamond mining company, and I had to come to school in Freetown. So my mom brought me to my grandmother, dropped me off, and went back. And my older sister was already staying with my dad's sister. So she didn't want another child. So I had to go and stay with my grandma. So we were separated. So right from that stage, I mean, I stayed with my grandma. She lived in a house with other people. There were lots of Namibians that she was fostering at the time. And upstairs, we had my aunt and uncle with their cousins as well, and what have you. So I had a lot of people around me, but I didn't have my parents and I didn't have my sister. And one of my earliest memories there is my grandmother forcing me to eat egg. And to date, I do not eat eggs. And it was boiled eggs, and she would say, you have to eat it, otherwise you wouldn't go to school. And in my head, school means seeing my sister. So I had to eat the egg to get to school. These are the things that, always play in my mind when I think about myself. How early on, I was with family, but not the family I wanted. Anyway, it wasn't for long. I really bonded with my grandma. And also, she wasn't allowed to hit me, which was great. So I got away with quite a lot. Actually,
And she was beating other kids.
yes, but my mom, because of what my mom went through, as a child, she was like, "Do not beat my child." So I didn't, get cane till I got to school. so, so we had that, very good relationship and what have you. The other thing I would say about that is, again, I left here probably at 17. No, probably I left here at 17 and went to study in the UK. And I mean, by the time I left here, I had a very protected life. I was sheltered. Okay.
Yeah.
But as much as I was sheltered from the fact that I didn't even know that there was an issue with gender, okay, because all my family members, female family members, were working. They all, had good jobs, and we could do whatever we wanted to do. Nobody ever said, boy, girl, what have you. So, I was sheltered for those types of things, but I saw death a lot. Family members would die, friends in school, and things like that.
Well,
And
yeah.
yes, while I lived here. And my mom, I always call her the lane out queen, which is what I have become as well, because we very rarely went to funerals. It was like only if it was a close family member. But she always like would pick us up from school and would just go to a lane out, and would go there, see the corpse, and then go, sympathize with the family and leave. And that is basically how I grew up around, the dead. And a lot of people say, how do you touch dead people? And you scared and what? Like I'm not scared of death because I saw it a lot growing up. The other thing that I felt like we were not protected from was male female relationships and how they navigated them. There was a lot of cheating. There was a lot of things happening, and we were not sheltered as children from seeing all of these because you'd have uncles around us with their girlfriends and their wives are at home, and all that kind of thing. So these all formed who I am today. And living here at 17, going to the UK, and again being without my parents. To date now, when we do all the WhatsApp and what have you, I always wonder, like, how did we cope back then when in the middle of a war, somebody would just come to you and say the whole of Congo Cross is down, and that's where we live, right? So they bombed the whole of Congo Cross, nobody's alive, and then you can't reach them by phone, right? But then you're there and you're praying and you're like, okay, I don't feel like I've lost my parents. So, we'll wait until we can get through.
cool.
So going through all of these things, I guess, are the things that really form your character and how you end up dealing with things in your adulthood. Because at some point, the point I would like to make with all of this is that there are so many things that you cannot control
Mm-hmm.
that go on in life, and you have to be able to continue if you still have life.
Absolutely.
So whatever happens, you have to be able to release the things that you cannot control and focus on controlling those that you can. And basically, my experiences, I feel, have led me to this point where I'm more accepting of the things that happen that I have no control over.
Well, that's amazing. And at what age did you come back to Sierra Leone?
24. So I was away for 7.5 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Okay. The thing I think that resonated the most with me is the sheltered and unsheltered, because that's very wise. Like the ones they need don't the kid doesn't need to be sheltered from. They are not sheltered from it because that's the reality of the world, so that they know how to navigate the world once they become adults. But the ones they need to be sheltered from, because I really believe kids need to enjoy their innocence, dreaming and playing as a kid, not being into adult stuff. So that sheltering is really amazing. So I do appreciate the parents for that. I've seen also your super classy mom, and I see how how she also raised such an amazing like lady. We thank her for that.
Thank you.
And then knowing that figure, the fatherly figure that you had your own dad in your life, because yes, we have seen the complicity that existed between the two of you and all of that, and then coming to now lose that figure is really something that I'm sure really shook you, or the foundation of how you maybe viewed life, because witnessing as a people passing, or as a people's loved ones passing, and being the one who witnesses it is very different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let us just maybe unpack the how you navigated it, just like maybe the news of it without anyhow uh, deeply getting into that and getting too emotional, because we don't want to get you into a place where it's really difficult for you.
Right.
Yeah. But at least like and also having the people who are listening in mind, in terms of, the different phases of grief, how you navigated them, and how it now became what it is now, maybe less burdensome as it was before. Mm.
Okay. So what I would say with regards to um loss is basically, apart from seeing, I guess, other people and, having yours being different from theirs, there's also different types of loss. So, I mean, throughout our lives, we lose people. Like my my poor child now, she always says, people are leaving her. Okay, so somebody will come to the house for like 5 days and stay, and she gets really attached. And then she'll be like, they've left me. And I'm like, no, they haven't left you. They've gone back to their lives, and this is life. Okay. So people come, people go, regardless of whether it's death or not. Okay. So what I would say, growing up all the time, there's always been some kind of loss, regardless of whether it's a godmother who, you really crave for, and she is not there as much as you like. So you probably see her once a year, and you're like, when you see her, you cling to her, and then she disappears again. Or a friend traveling for further studies while you're still here. And even in those days, we didn't even have like phones like we do now. So you have that sense of loss. You're writing all these email letters and praying for, one to come back, kind of thing, until you get to the point where you lose a parent. So you're losing friends, you're losing, people that you love, also maybe your boyfriend here. Um, And then, of course, in the last how many years, it's been friends, like really close friends. It's been, a partner. It's been even Balmaya, okay, the place, which was my happy place. We lost that as well. So you're going through all these losses and then you lose a parent. Now, losing a parent is it's so different from all the different losses. So you're talking about friends, you're talking about places, you're talking about, lifestyle, what have you. And then you lose a parent. And the thing about like my dad, he worked in the provinces all our lives. So we didn't necessarily live together. Okay. And we went there for holidays and he would come on leave as well. And my dad is a very conservative person, or he was. So he spent a lot of time in his room and he had a very stern face as well. As gentle as he was, we were so scared of him growing up. Like, my dad never ever yelled at us. It was always, daddy didn't like what you did. I'm sorry daddy made you cry. Like, that's how he dealt with us. Whereas my mom would yell, shout, and, what have you. So when I moved back, so the whole time, even being away and all, like most times we would talk more with my mom and, the odd conversation with my dad because we didn't have that kind of relationship. But then I moved back in 2002 and we lived together and he saw me as an adult now. So now the conversation, I mean, you're hearing all these stories about him growing up, work, what have you. Sometimes even talking about like women he dated before my mom and stuff. He will tell you these rude jokes and you're just like, okay, okay, calm down. Like, I feel your child,
Well, like my son would say, Mommy, why are you telling me this?
right?
It's like, why are you telling me that?
Exactly. So you're like, okay, calm down. But, it was every morning at breakfast, I'm here and he's opposite me. And we would eat and then we would sit and we would chat until I have to go, he has to go back to his room or, what have you. And, we just had that for years. And we probably had about 3 misunderstandings in like the whole time. Whereas my mom and I had quarreled like 1,000 times between, you know. But so yes, just having him and my dad is a bit like me or was a bit like me in terms of not wanting to go to the doctors and stuff. He had already made it very clear that I don't want to go for any checkups or anything. I don't want to be a burden. He never wanted to be a burden. I'm the same kind of person. Like I always feel like I'm being a burden. So I don't, ask for stuff and stuff like that. And he always said, I don't want to be a burden. So I don't want to get any checkups. If anything happens, that's it, kind of thing. And he basically was ill in one day, chest pain. And he did, indigestion medicine. And I'm going to bed. And I'm like, you still feel your chest? He's like, yes, I'll take a lemon sip before I go to bed. And I'm like, okay, And I said to my mom, if he still feels bad tomorrow, call the doctor, like, whatever. So that was it. And then at 4 o'clock in the morning, she's banging on my door. I'm calling him and he's not answering. So that first of all was a shock because he wasn't ill. So as my mom always says, like, it would have been okay if it had been like a few days of, pray something and then yes. So the shock of that was, and then it was also during COVID. And
Yeah.
we hadn't even been paying attention to the protocols because obviously you're not thinking, oh, I will need this information. So that again had its own implications. And then you had people coming around to the house as well, but they can't. So that many people were not coming and they couldn't like touch and stuff. Everybody's wearing their masks and what have you. It was a really weird time. And I always tease my mom, which I mean it anyway, that, when you people die, I'll still continue working because that's how, I cope with things. I just get on with the life. And she's always like, I'll go get you and bring you back. But luckily we were indoors, so I could just go to my office, work and stuff like that. But I guess it was harder because of the COVID and having to deal with a child not going to school, having to do COVID stuff, on TV and what have you, and then having just a few people coming around, but everybody's sanitized, and then there was a lockdown, which I appreciated as well because I needed me time. And then my mom, she likes people, so she didn't appreciate the lockdown. So there was all of that going on. And but then the beauty for me was the funeral was only 25 people, which I felt like was the kind of funeral that my dad would have liked because he was so conservative and so quiet and didn't want to bother anyone. So it was very easy to organize his funeral. It was, yeah, I just did everything from my desk and what have you. Um, so in fact, the only time I broke down during that period was when we went to purchase his pajamas and they couldn't find his size. And I started crying. The lady was so confused that she started opening all the drawers looking for.
Let me find this
My,
poor woman.
my mom was like, he's for my father who died. She was like, okay, great, let me look for it. And she found it. And after that, that was it. So there was no crying, there was no whatever. I went to the funeral. I read all the tributes from my sister. Had 3 children and her husband. I read mine, like I did everything. And and my sister was on the phone because she lives in the UK and she couldn't be here for the funeral. So like we're grieving even differently because I had all the time with him, which she didn't have. And then she wasn't even here for the funeral. I was here for the funeral. So she was on the phone and what have you. She was yelling, I mean, yelling down the phone. And we get to the house and the reverend says, ah, a sister, like film. And I smiled to myself as if you know. I know because I wasn't shouting and falling over. I, but that also brings me to the fact that even with some loved ones, like they sometimes they say they don't feel my love, right? I don't show emotion like the way people expect me to, right? So I guess and that should also blame the data and stuff like that. My mom always says, like, you're strong, but you didn't cry. And I'm like, I don't need to cry in front of all of you. Like, I have my moments, yes. I have my moments, and what have you. But to be honest, I don't know. As much as I miss him and his seat is still there for the longest time. We didn't allow people to sit on his chair at the dining table and all of that. And it took a while for me to even dream about him. And when I finally dreamt about him, like I knew he was dead. And I was like, "Oh, hi, you're here." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just resting." And I said, "Okay, take care." Like that. And I moved on, and I knew he was dead, kind of thing. But because of everything else that's been going on, so the all the other losses, the COVID, him dying, other people dying, Sierra Leone just being the way it is, just things happening all the time. You're not really sure what exactly you're grieving for. Like, today, okay, I miss him because of this. But then I feel sad today. Is it because of him? Or is it because of what's going on? Or am I just sad? I know that. Like and sometimes you feel like you're depressed. Sometimes you feel like you've accepted. Sometimes you feel like you're right at the beginning again. Like, the emotions are just all over the place. But in all of that, it's in the head that life must go on. So you have to keep going. You have to. Yes.
Wow. Edleen, that's amazing. That's amazing because it teaches us a lot of things about our society, about ourselves. First of all, the expectations that you should be yelling, you should be on the floor, and we should come and pick you up. But also the expectations of the same, like from your mom, expectations of you supporting her, you being there for your sister, and having to do all of those, read all of those testimonials on your own. So people also don't see what you are carrying, the weight of it, and they don't know if you even have the tools or know how to channel it. So people don't care about the one who is grieving, rather they have just expectations, and if they don't see it manifested, then it becomes judgmental. So that aspect of it is what makes sometimes grieving so lonely, but also so hard, because the different eyes on you, what people are expecting. But I also related so much about your sister being abroad, because we lost my dad overnight also. And I was there, and he was insisting that I sleep over, and I was like, I'm not feeling well, and I'm restarting work. Let me just go. But I think he wanted me to be there when he's passing. So now for us, it was so devastating, but then we had to care about the other people, the ones who were just getting into the compound and screaming.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please don't do this. My dad hated people doing like this. So we were busy going and telling people, please don't behave like this. This is not how he wanted his funeral to be. But then we had to deal with my sister, who was in the States and who told me that I'm okay. I agree. I accept that he passed. But you don't bury my dad without me being in. And I was like, we are Muslims. By the time you are done on this call, he's already failing. So now at that time, I didn't even know about all I know now, wherein I would have helped her channel her feelings better. All she could count on was my husband was in the States at that time. She could go. So it's now my husband who's telling me, do you guys know that you didn't cater for her as much as she needed? Because you guys were busy catering for the people who were there. And then for me also, it was such a selfish moment because nobody wanted to announce the death of my dad to me because they were like, how will she take it? And my mom said, okay, it's my responsibility. Let me do it. But then when she told me, the next setting I was in, my sister told me, our last born doesn't know yet. Please don't scream. And I just screamed. So all of them till now, they're telling me, in fact, you think you're the only daughter. You are the only one in pain. You don't care. But now in hindsight, I rethink of it and I'm like, wow, what I could have done differently is so much. In terms of also allowing other people to come and share my pain, but also being there for them. So it's so painful. And I appreciate the fact that you talked about the mixture of what people are dealing with, and I was joking with the team last time and I said, since you are resilient Sierra Leoneans, keep on being resilient. Because to me, that resilience is something we collate to ourselves, but what does it really mean? Because sometimes it means that you cannot cry. Yeah, you cannot show that you no longer are able to take it.
Yeah.
You cannot showcase, I need help.
Right.
I need a break. I cannot because you are already you labeled yourself, you are resilient, and people see you as a population that is resilient. But then how much can we take and till when with the mixture of what you were describing, because it's so powerful. We've gone through Ebola, then mudslide, then COVID, which everybody experienced, but we to Sierra Leone also experienced that. And now we have mpox, so that compounded factor of just having all of those things to deal with.
And before that, there was a war, and after
War.
that, there's been protests.
Yeah.
And there's been all kinds.
And then the impoverished lifestyle,
Absolutely.
having to wake up and then just be dealing with something that should have been maybe natural for others.
Right.
And now so dealing with all of that on top of now grief.
Right.
It's just so.
Well, I find that the beauty of all of this right now is that mental health is at the forefront of almost every conversation that you have. And it's more accepting now for people to express themselves. People, I find, are more empathetic because they realize that they are also going through things. So what if that person is also going through something? Even though, yes, you do have the others who do, I'm also going through, so why are they doing this when I should be? Yeah, maybe you also need to take a break, but you're trying to be strong and, act like you're not feeling all of these feelings that are, going on. And I think that that's probably what COVID did for the world. COVID was what I feel the thing that brought mental health to the fore, that brought people thinking more about mental health, how they behave, react to certain things, how other people react, what the expectations are, what they actually should be doing. And it's also the thing that I feel that made us accept that it's okay to be still sometimes. Okay. So as much as you have commitments And yes, you're supposed to honor those commitments. But sometimes your whole body, your mind, everything is telling you, step away. And you also need to respect that. And the the difference between somebody who just doesn't do what they're supposed to do and a person who actually respects, that they were supposed to do something and didn't, is the communication. And if you have people who are understanding, so be it your clients, be it your staff, be it your loved ones, what have you, when you say, I'll meet you at wherever place tonight, and then you get home from work and you're sitting there and you're thinking, if I do this, it will not be for me. It will be for this other person. And honestly, right now, what I need is me. You should be able to call and say, I'm sorry, I really can't. And that person should be able to understand. You know, I think we've gone beyond giving all of ourselves for others.
Mm.
You can give as much as you can, but if you don't have within you, it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to give. So I think that that is where a lot of people are at the moment because the expectations is so much. Like the reality is you cannot do it all. Okay. So I always said I'm not a stressor. Like I don't stress about stuff. Go back to what I said in the beginning about things you can control. You're able to compartmentalize. Think about solutions instead of like stressing and that kind of thing. Praying, accepting that God is in control. These are all things that I do.
Mhm.
But I find that recently as well, the I guess the need to solve the problems that I feel that I can solve is also becoming an issue. Right. Yes. So I also feel like now I need to work on toning things down. And this year, basically, my theme for this year is Love Edleen.
This one?
Love Edleen. Yes. And basically, every step of the way this year, I have done things or tried to recognize in everything I do whether or not I'm showing myself love. So the things that I should not be accepting, I don't accept. The people I need to drop, let them go. The things I need to do in order to grow, do them, make more of an effort. All right. So because of that, I feel like I'm showing myself more love and I'm, accepting, I guess, my current self a lot more than before, where I felt like, I need to just be doing to make things better. Like it cannot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love the self-awareness from the beginning, that let you realize even how you will behave when loss happens, that you will still find solace in work. Because people also judge people that 2 days after they were on stage, they were doing this, but they don't know maybe it's what is your coping mechanism or your
Absolutely.
healing
Absolutely.
process.
Yeah.
So that self-awareness is essential. But also hearing you talking about the awareness people have now about mental health is just so amazing and so hopeful because at the end of the day, the stresses are out there.
Mm-hmm.
We know the society we are living in, and then we all I think this generation is a generation that wants so much for Africa. We just want sovereignty. We want development, and we want it to come from us to the point where we all are carrying so much because we want to see it before we go. So that type of stress and the hit it has on your mental health and all that is just very, very heavy. So having that awareness that people now are turning into checking into each other and knowing that this is maybe what the person can offer or not, and that normalization of saying, okay, we agreed to do XYZ, but where I am right now, I can't. Normalizing it, and then friends and family and all members of your circle saying yes to that. Because if they don't, even though the person can build their own,
And you feel
yeah, but then they, even if that's where they are and that's what they're gonna do, he still will remain somewhere in their mind wherein I let down.
I let them down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But if them to understand that, okay, you know what, if they cannot, what is the purpose of doing it?
Exactly.
It really becomes amazing. And yes, yes to love Edleen. That one. I hope we all have same mottos for this year onwards, loving ourselves, because we usually are giving from dried out cups,
Absolutely.
you know, and then we are raised to be more empathetic and thinking about all the especially women, you know, like even when you are just a wife and mom, you are a nurse, you are a cook, you are everything, and you cannot call off, you cannot call sick. You are always 24/7 on duty. So being able to check in and say, this is what I can give is just amazing.
So the beauty really of my life is that my mom is still there and she's very active with my daughter. I've never been a domestic kind of person, so the cooking definitely is not me. But they spend a lot of time together and I have room, to do other things. And for that, I am absolutely grateful because I don't always want to have to do, the home things. And also I don't necessarily always have the headspace and all of that because I'm working as well. And sometimes you need to go out, you need to meet with clients, you need to network, you need to do all of that kind of stuff. And then also you just need me time. You need a break. You need to just take some air and do fun stuff and just relax.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I am grateful that I have that at home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as the saying goes, you need a village to raise a
Absolutely.
kid, and most of the time it's just us, and maybe our partners, husbands. That's, and it becomes so heavy. So having someone who has that much of experience and love to share with the person you're nurturing is so amazing. It's really, thank you so much. I like that you also touched on the rituals, what you do when it comes to the healing journey. You mentioned prayer. You mentioned also having me time. What else do you do for you to now recenter yourself and just keep on going without carrying that heavy heart, the all the wounds and the compound it hurts along the way?
So I find that being positive really helps. I know I get a lot of stick for it on social media when I do my, positivity and hopefulness and all of that. And people don't quite understand, where you're coming from with all of this. But for me, I've always said the moment I give up, like I lose hope, then why am I here? I may as well just go and go do something else somewhere else.
That's fair.
But I'm here because I want to be here because I love Sierra Leone and I want to be a part of its development. I'm hopeful that even if we don't get everything right, there will be areas which we will be say, oh, hey, we contributed towards this. So for me, I find that being hopeful and always just creating like everything, in everything you see ideas, opportunities, what have you, even if you're not able to always find the money to do them or find the time or headspace, writing things down, just creating in your mind, that also helps because it takes away from your sadness, from what you're feeling at that time and what have you. I'm a big music person. Like I grew up with music. Music is a big part of my life. Like everything. My sister always teases me about listening to all kinds of rubbish, but I listen to everything. And so I'm always listening to either new music or, stuff I grew up on or what have you. And that also just transports me to places, reminds me of things and what have you. So I don't necessarily dwell on stuff. Um, Honestly, the whole meditation and yoga and all of that, I struggle with clearing my mind. I really haven't been able to get into that. And I know that mindfulness and all of that is really where we should be heading. But unfortunately,
It doesn't work.
it hasn't worked for me yet. I'm always thinking, always, there's always stuff going through my head. And not necessarily, hard stuff or work or what have you. There's always just, fantasizing and just thinking nice thoughts sometimes.
The mind is doing its job. It's wandering.
It's always doing things. Even sometimes, sometimes you're praying and then you pray about something and then you start, fantasizing about the thing or dreaming about the thing and you're just like, come back. You can do that later. For now, focus. So yeah, that's really way.
I know that one. I know that one. Like I even pray for that. I'm like, oh God, I want when I'm talking to you that I'm here. Because and there is this story of one person who lost something very dear to them. And the Imam said, please go pray. And then you will find it. So he thought he's going to pray so that he finds it.
Yes.
But it's in prayer that he remembered where he placed it. So when he went to the Imam said, I hope you finish that prayer. Because, at the end of the day, you are praying, and we are humans, and God understands us. And the beauty of doing what works for you. Because the trends is also what is losing us. So everybody's talking about meditation. If it doesn't work for me, then why do it? Right? If it's prayer, music, and all of those things that work for you, it's good to know it, because that's really where
you're happy, where passion lies, where, the things that make you just
absolutely
carry on. Yes.
absolutely. That's so great. And the other thing that I really appreciated was you touching on loss not being only people, or not only being death. So it might not only be people, because it can be a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you could afford that you cannot afford anymore. Or maybe a neighborhood that you really loved, your parents moved, or friends, because your parents moved once again, and then you are in there and you are like, oh my God, I don't have my friends that I really clicked with, and all of that. So I appreciate how you helping your kid understand all of that, because it's a lot of things that we losing along the way.
Absolutely.
But understanding that it's part of how life should be.
Absolutely. I think what happens is if you keep dwelling, then you keep thinking.
Yeah.
And you honestly have to accept that this is life. This is just how it is.
Absolutely. And the positivity among like in the midst of so much negativity, that is a skill. Because we need that. We need the fresh breath of let's be hopeful, and let's look at the beautiful things that are happening around.
Right.
So for me, from time to time, I always tell everybody around me, please don't complain about Sierra Leone around me. I am not able to take it anymore. If we are here for us to build, let's build. Let's not complain. And it's not like, yes, you cannot be in life without seeing the things that are hurtful and say them. Yeah. But you cannot also dwell on them to the point where everything is black. It's doomed. We cannot get there. Exactly. So yesterday I was just contemplating the sunset, and I was like, this is a blessing. Like rainy season sunsets in Sierra Leone is unbelievable. People would pay billions, millions to go somewhere, travel and go. So I'm going to the Pacific Islands for me to witness this, but we don't, because we are molded, and we are also so deep into the hardships. Absolutely. That we don't have that, maybe figures even, who will say, hey guys, this is very positive, let us try and look at it from this angle. That is really amazing. There are really amazing things that we can connect together to give us that amazing perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, that's positivity is what it is for me. And sometimes just analyzing things and realizing that it's not your fault and you were not able to control any of it. So even in death, like there are certain things where people start feeling guilty about things or what have you. I mean, I questioned like that first day when, my dad had his chest pain, like why didn't we insist at that time, and that kind of thing. And it was just like, actually the man would have said to you, no, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, so it wasn't even like we had any control over that anyway. I mean, same thing with, friends or whoever that decide they don't want to be your friend anymore, or your boyfriend or girlfriend or what have you. I mean, at the end of the day, I find that with that one, you're grieving the person, but you're also grieving the rejection, and having to deal with all of that, and just accepting that, the person didn't want to be with me. Like there was nothing I could have done about it.
There is nothing wrong about it that triggers that.
Exactly. So, life goes on and there will be other friends, there will be other boyfriends, girlfriends, what have you, and it's fine. I've learned from this experience. I probably haven't even learned from the experience. I've felt the pain, I've dealt with it, and I've moved on. I mean, what are you going to do? I've never understood where people say, "Oh, I can't sleep because I'm this person has left me, or I used to lie down with this person, and I can't sleep anymore." And for me, thank God, like I've never had that. I've never dwelled on something so much that I am not able to function. So yes, you may have a moment where you think, "Oh, I don't want to work right now. I just want to play games on my phone," and you play the games, and it relaxes you, right? But that consistent everyday pining, oh, I thank God I don't have that.
Edleen doesn't understand the likes of us.
I thank God.
But anyways, to me, it's like tools. We really try to unpack it, but I think it's having the tools that you need for you to do certain things. I remember a friend of mine was telling me, this thing that is bothering you, put it in one compartment in your brain, and when you can't deal with it, you will deal with it. I was thinking I'm hearing Mandarin. I was like, okay, this is such a selfish advice. What does it mean and how do I do it? I was just lost. But then now, again, with all of the learnings and exposure and everything, I'm like, but that's exactly how I'm living my life now.
Exactly. It's replacement.
Yeah.
It's just accepting that, okay, let me focus on something else.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you focus on something else, that other thing has gone. Like, yes, you may have
Did
tapped it, yes, and what have you. It might come back, but for that moment or for, that period, you're dealing with something else.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
So that is just so beautiful. But I think for the rejection part, you also need to be deeply rooted into your self-love, your self-esteem and confidence. Absolutely. For you to be able to say, hey, you know what? They didn't want me. It's not about me. It's because a better is waiting for me.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's the questioning, the doubt, self-doubt and all of that. So
And that's why it's important, one, to read, and two, to have people who love you that you can talk to. So for me, I have one major problem, which is I don't want to worry the people who love me. So they wouldn't know when something is bothering me. But I could tell someone who I know wouldn't start asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm just calling it record because again, that for me is too much. Like I've moved on from when I told you I cried. I'm done. I've moved on to the next thing. Now you coming back and say, "Oh, I'm worried about you. Are you okay?" It's just like, oh, come on.
yeah,
I won't tell you next time.
you're bringing it back to
I won't. I won't tell you next time. so, so yeah, I don't tell the warriors and the when things are wrong because I move on. I really do. But I obviously have my moment. Yes.
Yeah, I get that one of how do like my uncle when just after my dad was buried and all, like for me I was like, making a mistake, he cannot be dead. But then when they buried and they came back, I was like, now he's dead.
Okay.
Because he's buried. And then my uncle just saw me like that, and everybody knew how I was with my dad. So he came and he told me, I know it's hard. He touched me on the knee. I know it's hard. And I stood up and called. I wanted to just, and I was screaming the whole, like the people I was telling, please don't scream. He doesn't like back. Were just looking at me like, because he touched me. He triggered me. I would have loved him leaving me there, being quiet where I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with alone and the way I know. But then the minute he touched me, I was just, oh yeah. And then I was like, you know what? People are dealing with their things the way they know. So sometimes we want to help by bringing issues back, but also allow them to process it the way they know best, or the way that works for them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyways, I think my learning points with this is more of the not loss of only human being, not loss by death, but more of maybe separation. More of even losing losing things, lifestyles, and all of that, and making sure that you navigate it um, the way you know that works for you, especially with the self-awareness that comes with it. That is amazing. So now you, on top of now your experience, the career, and now the need, you say the need to do the things that you know you do best. Um, what is the let's say the approach you have to things when they are very hard? You already talked about the positivity and all that, but we were discussing a while ago about people management, and that's what you're dealing with every single day. To me, when I think of psychologists or psychiatrists, I'm like carrying all of this from everybody and then going back home. And how does it work? How do they um, offload? But for you working with people, having to deal with people, and we know that at the center of maybe all the challenges we have with developing our countries is the people, the mindsets we are carrying that are anti-development, and all of those things. And even having to deal with people who are in the circles of those you are dealing with. And that is your lot. That is what you are dealing with. Well, so how do you do it? Even though now we understand Edleen better, we know you're positive and you let go. But like, is that the hardest part of what you're doing, or is it not?
It really isn't. I think navigating probably the services, so the banks and the government services, those for me are the hardest. But yes, dealing with people is hard as well. I have quite a few team members who I can rely on for support as well. Who probably deal with people one on one even better than I do. So when those situations arise, you have people who can, manage those situations and what have you. The acceptance there again is that the different people, I guess, deal with things differently. You're always going to have people who you feel are being irrational, or, they're not seeing things the way you see them. And it's just the acceptance of that. So you're going to have to accept that there are various ways of dealing with different people. I mean, that's a whole other tertiary about how you deal with the different types of people. But yes, it's learning how to do that and realizing again when to sever the relationship. So in every relationship, you have to know when it has come to an end. And that's the same with, work. Dealing with people at work. That, that's okay, fine. We'll come to the end of this. I'd rather it were amicable. If it's not, then I'll accept that too. But this is where it ends. Yeah.
That is a power that I wish I will have in the near future, because for me, like, I studied HR, but when I want people to laugh, I tell them the stories of me as an HR specialist always having the tendency of separating with staff members and then later calling them back because I'm not done. Yeah. Always like, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm not happy with how it ended. Maybe this time, and at that time is worse. And that's when I'm hurt the most. And I'm like, but why am I doing this? Why is it? But then I think it's separation anxiety, and or having just to say, it shouldn't end. Maybe that because it's in your mind. But then accepting that it's not always that things end the way you want it, or it has a life cycle. And once it's done, it's done. Absolutely. If lessons are learned, that's okay. If they're not learned, maybe you will learn it in the future. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's
But for
powerful.
me, I always try to keep it amicable because I like maintaining relationships for the future. So even if we don't speak for the next 10 years, but if I need to talk to you, I should be able, and you should obviously, have access to me if you need to. So for me, that matters.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, to conclude, when it comes to human capital development in Sierra Leone, in Africa, what do you think is the missing piece of the puzzle? You've talked about mental health, because I do believe that, especially for entrepreneurs, If we don't pay close attention, we will lose entrepreneurs one at a time just because of mental health, because of mental health issues, because we're carrying a lot and it's lonely on its own. But if we cater for people's mental health and normalize what you have described in terms of interpersonal relationships, what else is it that you think we are missing, and that maybe if incorporated, we will get there?
So I think one major thing that I find is mindsets, right?
Mhm.
It's there's a there's a me instead of we kind of mindsets going on. And unfortunately, there's no me that's going to help with development. Like there has to be collaboration in various areas, in what have you, and there has to be collective thinking. So, yes, this might suit you now, but in the future, would it still suit you?
Mm.
Or are you now supposed to be thinking what would suit all of us now and in the future? And I'll give you an example. There was this guy who was a parliamentarian and we were having a chat. So he'd come out of parliament and we were having a chat and then he said something along the lines of, oh, in Lungate, the people were always outside bothering us. That's why, we had to get our VIP vehicle so we can get ourselves out of that situation. And I said, so now that you're out of parliament, don't you feel it would have been best for you to get the situation away from the airport as opposed to getting yourself out of the situation? I said, because now you're back with us. Like, they're going to be bothering you again.
How will you do now?
He's like, yeah, that's true. And this is my issue with us as a people, and just not just necessarily Sierra Leone, but us as a people, because everybody's going there, thinking, oh, I need to get that contract, so I'm going to bribe for it. I'm going to this, I'm going to, all of that. And it's me, 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 me. And we get ourselves into situations where, yeah, you were happy 10 years ago, but are you still happy now? No, because you were part of this situation that is even worse now, and we're all unhappy. So I think that really, without us sorting that out, it's going to be very difficult for anything to really grow.
Sustainable choices. So making sure that the choices that you're making out of a situation are sustainable. It's not just for now.
Collective. It's not just,
But also, yes, also because I know it's very easy to confuse it. Like when people are talking about being deeply rooted into loving yourself, into your me time, into nurturing yourself, that does not mean by any means that you are just selfishly focusing on yourself to the detriment of the others, right? And that's the only way that we build something that is sustainable and that can bring about sustainable development. And I think that shouldn't even be difficult for Africans, given that in our DNA we have that community,
right?
with that love of sense of community that we are
I
born
don't know why
into.
we struggle with it so much.
It's because I think it's because we are so disconnected from who we are intrinsically. Colonization has passed by there and a lot of trauma, and now you have this well-being thing. Okay, our focus on yourself, this and it can be misread that okay, it's me, the others don't count, rather than what it means. On the contrary, what it means is if you are not deeply rooted into the self, you cannot serve others. But once you keep on healing and nurturing yourself, then when you are build something collectively. That is so beautiful. I don't think we could end more beautifully than that. And one of the things I think that stayed with me is when you said my life is beautiful. That sentence in itself is, how they say what is inside is what shows in the outside. That mindset you have of my life is beautiful. And it is just what I make of it. It's what radiates on you.
Oh, thank you.
And it's just what people are also seeing. And I think the invitation to all of our viewers is, and to myself first, is to try and embody all of these amazing characteristics that we have seen in Edleen today, including the positivity, including the nurturing of the self. but also the collective, but at the same time, seeing the beautiful in our lives. Until next time, keep rising, keep radiating. This was our episode on grief and grace, rising with a heavy heart. But you see, we ended the episode with such a light, enlightened, and such a really vibrant and hopeful note. Thank you so much. See you next time.